The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Flagstaff Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37138. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the face of the front bumper, just under the face attached to the frame rail, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver's side frame rail. Moving to the angled area of the passenger and driver's side face of the front bumper, electronic siren and PA speaker. Just inside that location, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side, and on the face, unit identifier engine 3. As we move up onto the top, you'll find a tubbed storage location on the bumper extension with a swivel discharge inside. On the cab face, turn indicator marker light, headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. High beam will be located on the inside. Directly behind the Pierce logo is where you'll find your release mechanism for gaining access into the hood area. Above the headlight structure, emergency warning lights forward facing, 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 identification clearance lights. Located in the very center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. As we move up to the roof area, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Directly above that light bar is where you'll find your Go Light spot floodlight. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the close-ups that we just talked about here. Let's start first with the bumper extension on an angle where you can see a side-facing emergency warning light on the side of the bumper extension. As we move to the tub storage for your front discharge, foam capable 1.5" swivel discharge. Just behind the Pierce logo, once again, is where you'll find the release mechanism, the hood latch for gaining access in the hood. Once the hood is open, you'll find on the passenger side the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. As we move to the driver's side, you'll find the overflow coolant reservoir. You'll also find on the vertical wall on the very back instructions for cab lift operations. For raise and lower, please ensure all items are secured inside the cab. You'll also find a remote and a protected switch for raise or lower. To the right, you'll find your power steering fluid. Moving up to the roof line area, once again, clearance lights, forward-facing flood, emergency warning light, and then also a spot floodlight. Full view from the driver's perspective. Let's focus in now on the cab section, starting first with your front axle, where you'll find a visual sight gauge indicator, steel wheel, and also Goodyear tire. As we move to the front bumper extension, side-facing emergency warning light. This is part of the lower zone. And then as we move up, you'll find your marker turn indicator light. There are also grab handles and door locks. The door locks are easily accessible with a gloved hand, and they are also keyed. Right next to that is where you'll find the grab handle for gaining entry and exit into the cab or out. You'll also find, as we move toward the window area behind the driver's seat, is the visual indicator for when plugged into shoreline power will become activated, indicating battery status. On the rear wall is where you'll find the lower zone emergency warning light, and then directly over the front axle at the top, a side-facing scene light, and then toward the rear cab, you'll find a LED water tank level indicator. As we move to the pump panel, we'll talk about this in just a few moments in greater detail. Let's move to the body section next, where you'll find wheel chocks stowed in front of and rear of the axle. You'll also find a marker turn indicator light just in front of the rear axle. And then there are also 2 storage locations here for SCBA bottle storage and also your diesel fill location and DEF fill. As we move directly over the axle, side-facing emergency warning light, part of the lower emergency warning lights. As we move to the very top section, side-facing scene light, and as we move toward the rear, you'll find a 360-degree emergency warning light. Let's go and move around to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items here, starting at the top with a brake, turn, and reverse light. Just above that, you'll find your emergency warning lights. There are one on each side in the lower zone rear. And then as we move up on the side, you'll find your backup camera. It does have a protected cover Above that protected cover is where you'll find your switch for activation of those rear scene lights. And then also at the very top section, rear scene lights, and further up, emergency warning lights. That's part of the 360-degree upper zone. There are 2 fold-down steps located here on the vertical wall just inside the step area. As we move up, you'll find your traffic advisor located in the very center area. And then also D-handle on the right-hand side of the image. Passenger side will gain access to your ground ladder storage. Let's take a look up to the very top. There are 2 movable hose bed dividers located in the side section, and then also an additional hose bed divider on the passenger side. Full view of the driver's perspective. Let's take a look at the rear. Same configuration and layout as you have on the driver's side as you'll have on the passenger side. We'll move to the midsection here, pump panel area. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a few moments in greater detail. As we move to the cab area, the difference is you'll find a side-facing camera directly to the rear of the front passenger door. As we move inside the cab of the operator, let's start first with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window controls, and also a grab handle. As we move to the base of the seat area, you'll find an additional access. This is going to be a Shoreline inlet 30 amp just underneath the white cover. As we move about the floor area, you'll find this yellow placard indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. This also houses the VIN number and then all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and also fluid type. As we move to the floor, you'll find an air horn and electronic siren foot pedals. About the left knee of the operator is where you'll find your master battery switch, also your transmission, ABS diagnostic port, tech module, and display port. Those are for your maintenance crew. Also ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. As we move to the dash area on the left, you'll find the 4-way flasher or hazards, start and ignition switch, also a switch labeled EM, which stands for emergency master. This allows you to engage or disengage all emergency lights with one switch. Headlight switch and panel switch, allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. To the right of the steering column, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle switch and indicator. On the dash itself, the cluster, you'll find your transmission, oil, depth level, and water temperature gauges. On the right of the cluster, you'll find front air, rear air, volts, and fuel. Located in the center, you have your tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information will display above and below with tally lights and information zone. Let's move just to the right. Although not pictured in this image, you will find the yellow pull to apply your system parking brake. It's just to the left in this image. It's the yellow diamond, applies brakes to the rear. Those are your spring brakes. As we move to the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. See the owner's manual. It is a touch and also function button screen. Allison transmission pad, digital, push button, informational note, pump in, drive. Moving just to the right, you'll find a water tank level indicator, also some rocker switches here for your retarder on and off, retarder auto apply, mirror heat, tire chain activation, pedals, and push to talk. In the very top section, you'll find mirror control for your flat and convex mirror. Also, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions on its placard for road to pump, and then also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, when exiting the cab, you'll need 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump for pump operations. Also, as you move toward the top section, you'll find the control module for your go light. That's an on-off switch and a joystick. Climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Let's go ahead and move overhead of the driver's seat, where you'll find this yellow placard on the far left. This is an informational placard indicating the height of the vehicle, 10 feet 2 inches, length of the vehicle, 31 feet 2.75 inches, gross vehicle weight rating, 49,800 pounds. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle that may affect this, please update this placard. Also, this houses your 5-digit job number. As we move to the right, you'll find some switches located here. These are your emergency master, roof light, front warning and side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and your electronic siren control. Moving further to the right, additional switches, front flood, driver side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, driver side flood, passenger side flood, and the load manager. As you can see, the green indicating that the load manager has been activated. That will indicate the switch is active. Moving to the right, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker module. Also to the right, traffic advisor. And then just a general view from the driver's seat looking just to the right. And then we'll take a look at the rear cab wall. There are 3 seats, 2 on the outer edge house SCBAs within them, and the center seat is a comfort seat. As we move to the rear of the driver's seat, you'll find the manual handle for tilting the cab, and then also an audible speaker, volume control for your backup camera. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this is your battery charger. It will become active, maintaining batteries. When plugged into Shoreline Power, you'll find the battery voltage displayed in the window area, and that's when you're plugged into Shoreline Power. Also, you'll find Goodyear tires, steel wheel, and then also a visual sight gauge indicator in the front axle. Let's move now to the rear of the cab area. Let's take a look inside, but first let's start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, electric window control, combination door lock and latch. And as we move inside, you'll find a roll-up compartment door. Inside that compartment, you'll find an additional pan door. 2 lift and turn latches will gain you access into this space. General view of the rear seated area. On the center, you'll find a pedestal with an additional storage location. Lift and turn latch gains you access into this. As we look forward to that location, you'll find an additional storage box located on top of the engine cowling. As we look to the very bottom of that engine cowling, you'll find a lift and turn latch on the exterior. That gains you access for your daily checks for the oil and transmission. There is also a light inside this area. As we move to the rear of the officer seat, you'll find an additional storage location. This is storage for your radio. Also, you'll find on the edge of that map box or large box in the center a Shoreline inverted outlet. And then last general view here of the rear of the cab, David Clark headset system. Let's move exterior now to the pump panel area. We'll start first with the crosslay area. There are 2 crosslays located at the very top section. We have crosslay number 1 and crosslay number 2. Both of these are foam capable. Let's move just downward from this location onto the pump panel where you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll come back to this. And then also a warning placard. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after you received proper training. To the right, your main fire pump intake. And then to the right, you'll find your pump discharge. In between the 2 of these 2 master gauges is where you'll find the vacuum and pressure test gauge ports. They're currently plugged and they're utilized for testing purposes. As we move to the right, a warning regarding climbing onto the vehicle. Always face the vehicle while climbing onto it. Let's move down on the pump panel. We'll start first on the left. Because of the lines above, we do have an entanglement warning hazard here. Also, engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then just to the right in the red module, this is your Husky 3 foam system. This is the control module. It does have foam system instructions on the placard for its operation. And then also a foam level indicator for foam tank A from full, 3/4, half, quarter, and refill, which would be red flashing. As we move to the engine information, we'll find 4 gauges around the outer edge. In the center area, you'll find your tachometer. We do have additional tally lights here for check engine, check transmission, and stop engine with additional tally lights surrounding those areas. As we move down, your discharges for the front discharge, crosslay 1 and crosslay 2, those are all foam capable. Your fire pump primer with an informational note to pump at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices for priming. Your deluge discharge, and then also a passenger side 2.5-inch pre-connect on the far right, foam capable. And then also the number 1, 2, and 3 discharges. Those are 2.5-inch discharges. And your large diameter discharge on the passenger side. As we move to the right, you'll find the number 4 passenger side, which is also a 2.5-inch. As we move further to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor located in the very top section of the gray module. There is an audible alarm here. This is the speaker for that. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate, allow you to brighten or dampen sound. We also have some additional switches located in this area. As we move down, you'll find a switch for your panel lights and then also an indicator. If you've engaged your pump properly in the cab, this should indicate OK to pump with a green indicator. You'll also find your tank to pump and recirculating line. Just to the right of that location is the main water tank level indicator, full, 3/4, half, quarter, and refill. To the right, you'll find the manual pump shift. And then just beneath that, we're going to find the tank to pump and your Husky 3 foam specifications placard. To the right, your main inlet control with a digital readout in its position location. Let's move just slightly downward and to the left, where you'll find two 2.5-inch discharges located on this side. This is the number 1 and number 3 discharge. Also a warning regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening any of your caps. To the right, this is your main pump inlet. As we move down, you'll find an air inlet, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. To the right of this location, you'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a female 2.5-inch locally controlled ball valve. And then just to the right, you'll find the main fire pump drain. We also have a placard located here indicating the type of pump that you have and also the GPM. We'll come back to that placard in just a few moments. Let's move just to the right, where you'll find a pan door lift and turn latch will gain you access into this space. As we move down, just a warning placard here regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Also, we have our draft and tank lever and inlet. And then at the very bottom, you'll find an additional lift and turn latch will gain you access into another pan door, which we'll go into just a moment. Let's go back up to the very top. This is the relief valve for the setting relief valve for your main inlet. Also, you'll find a foam drain located in the lower section, and then also the yellow handle for your foam system. There are instructions for its operation on the back side of the pan door. Let's move downward to the running board, where you'll find dry deck material in the very bottom section, and then also lift and turn latches will gain you access into this space. Just underneath, you're going to find your foam pump intake drain and foam pump discharge drain. Let's go back to those placards. This is a Watrous pump. You have a capacity of 1,500 GPM. Minimum operation maintenance schedule, which was the very first placard we talked about. This has the associated PSI at test pressure. On the left is the associated GPM. On the right, the associated RPM for that 150, 200, and 250 NFPA test with a governed speed 2100 while in pump mode. As we move to the next compartment just aft of the pump, let's start in the very upper corner. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this is your S1 breaker that controls those individual breakers below that. Also, you do have a inverter. It is a continuous power supply, and there's a placard on its face indicating the type and amount. Also, as we move just in front of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for 2 and also an oxygen bottle. Moving to the right, you're going to find emergency warning light, single SCBA bottle, and then also the fill location for your ultra low sulfur diesel. My correction here, this is 3 SCBA bottles. Back to the bottom, we find the Goodyear tire and also steel wheel. Moving to the rear of the axle, ultra low sulfur diesel. That's the silver cap. When the flap is moved downward, exposes the DEF fill location, which is going to be the blue cap. And the tank size on that is 4.5 US gallons. As we move to the next rear compartment, LED lighting, adjustable shelving, dry deck material. Moving to the rear compartment, same thing, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, dry deck material, and ventilation. In the upper corner is where you're going to find a Shoreline inverter outlet, 15 amp. Let's take a look at the full view of the vehicle with all compartments open. And now we'll move around to the rear of the apparatus next, identify a few items within this area. First, let's start with the cup switch just above the backup camera. This will control the rear scene lights. And then as we move downward, you'll find your backup camera with a protected housing around it. As we move toward the center area, you'll find your traffic advisor. And then we have a few warning placards located here. Let's go over those. First, fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. And then also fall hazard, when climbing on or off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. And at the very bottom, a warning regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from a loft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the rear compartment, you'll find roll-up door. Release mechanism for this drawer down at the very bottom is going to be located on the right-hand side. It will lock into position. You'll need to release it to regain it back into its position. We have a 24-foot and a 14-foot ladder. At the very top, you'll find long-handled pike pole for 10 and 6 foot, and also a 10-foot folding attic ladder. As we move around to the passenger side, once again, LED lighting, dry deck material, and adjustable shelves. In this compartment, we do have a 12-volt access via barrel style. Let's move forward to this location where you'll find SCBA bottle storage. As you can see, there are 2 SCBA bottle storage locations with an oxygen bottle storage also. As we move to the rear axle, once again, steel wheels, Goodyear tire. As we move forward to this location, SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles with retaining straps. As we move up from the rear axle area, you'll find a tool board. D-handle gains you access into this space. When that tool board has been opened fully, it will lock into position. The lock mechanism located on the hinge area. I would like to point out extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operations. Please be cautious where you park your vehicle. As we move into the next compartment, adjustable shelving, a pegboard on the vertical wall on the rear, and then also dry deck material. We're now to the pump area. Let's start first at the very top section with the crosslays. Same configuration and layout as you had, crosslay 1 and crosslay 2, both foam capable. Would like to point out entanglement hazard, because those lines coming out, there's the possibility of entanglement. Also, you'll find a switch located on this side that controls the passenger side scene lights. And then as we move into the pan door area, additional access for your maintenance team. As we move down to the very bottom, you'll find a warning regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also, you'll find the large diameter passenger side discharge, and then also the number 2 passenger side discharge. As we move downward from this location, you'll find the number 4 passenger side discharge. It's a 2.5 inch also, and a pan door, which will gain you access into relief valve. As we move to the very bottom, all of the color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And the passenger side 2.5 inch auxiliary inlet, locally controlled ball valve, female. You'll also find additional hose storage location. Lift and turn latch gains you access into this space, dry deck material in the base. As we move into the cab, into the rear section, let's start with the door panel, a fixed door panel, safety and warning placard information, electric window control, door lock and latch, and a grab handle. As we move overhead, you'll find push on and off red or white lens lights, also your air conditioning and David Clark headset system. Once again, 3 seats across the rear wall. Let's go ahead and move back exterior now to the front axle. Once again, visual sight gauge indicator in the center, steel wheel, Goodyear tire. Let's move into the officer space next. We'll start with the door panel, a fixed door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. As we look in general inside the cab area, let's start with the dash area first. As we look to the dash, you'll find 12-volt access via barrel style and also USB. You'll also find these red and white labels indicating spare wiring behind the panel. The wire is indicated as to the type and also the option number. Please do not remove these until your maintenance team has had an opportunity to review. As we move to the right, you'll find your push to talk for your radio transmit button on the officer side. And then as we move overhead of the officer space, let's go ahead and cover a few items within this area. First, starting with a few of the switches, we have a front flood, passenger, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. You'll also find your unit radio here for AM/FM, Sirius XM weather band. And then just to the right, this is your main communication radio. As we move to the exterior, all compartments open. Let's go now up on top of the vehicle, take a look at the hose bed area, where you'll find those 2 hose bed dividers that are movable, and then also one on the passenger side. The one on the passenger side is going to have a 2.5-inch discharge at the front bulkhead area pictured here. As we move to the dunnage area, let's take a look inside this. This is the top fill location for your water tank, and then also top fill location for your foam tank. There is a warning placard on the foam tank. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move to the Husky 3 reservoir located on the left, as we move to the right and left, you'll find 2 pole lights on the passenger and driver side. Let's go back to the fill location on the Husky foam system. This is the hydraulic reservoir fill location. And then we'll move to the center where your master stream device is located. As we move to the cab of the roof area, you'll find a couple of warning placards here indicating that this is a non-walking surface. The next set of images are going to be that of the cab tilted with the engine and chassis area, and then underneath the vehicle. Just as a reminder, when tilting your cab, ensure all items are secure inside the cab. Once the cab has been fully tilted, please install the safety bar. Do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Please maintain equal pressure on both the right and left cab cylinders. Your vehicle is equipped with a TAC4 independent front suspension for ride quality and steering. As we move to the driver's side frame rail to the battery area, you'll find your batteries in addition with the jumper studs for positive and negative. You'll also find to the rear of that the fill location for your hydraulic reservoir for the cab tilt cylinders. This will conclude the additional chassis and underbody photos. We do have an additional video here with your emergency warning lights on. Congratulations, Flagstaff Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37138. If you have additional questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.